Yes, yes, yeah. You are tuned in to Offering Something. I am your host, Michael Bernier. Feeling so good to be alive. Yeah. You know I love you for tuning into the show. That is the truth. If you're watching on YouTube, won't you lean on that subscribe button for me? That's so good of you. Streaming TV, folks, you can find us out there everywhere. Amazon Fire, Apple TV, Roku, Distro TV, all that on the Plymouth Rock TV channel. I gotta give some love to our sponsors. They're so nice. So nice. At Riverwalk Brewing Company, Enjoy Your Life brand, and the Organic Natural Shop. And you know I love you, like I said, for tuning into the show. Oh, by golly, we have a comical episode in store for you today with a beautiful guest who is a comedian, an actor, an international performer, a pursuer of his own passions, a loving individual, and a genuinely hilarious human who is hysterically offering something. It is with pounds of pleasure that I introduce to y'all Al Ghanekar. Did I say it right?
You said it perfectly.
Yeah, man. How you feeling, Al?
I'm feeling great.
Yeah.
You know the moniker Ghanekar thing that I told you beforehand? It took me way too long
to figure that out.
Because
a great suggestion. That was my pause. I thought of the word moniker.
Yeah.
And then I did my Ghanekar.
Yeah, you had it perfect because
Nice,
I was doing a show and like usually I'm used to having to tell the host that like before they even ask that like, okay, yeah, this is how it's spelled. And then sometimes I'll take their notes and just put the phonetic spelling of it.
Yep.
And another comedian was just like recently, like it was like at the end of last year, they were like, oh, Ghanekar. So like moniker. And I was like, why haven't I never told anybody that? Like that's so, it's so obvious. And ever since I do it that way now, the host is like, oh yeah, no problem. That's easy. And then
I
they
actually
nail it.
saw a host introduce you as just Al. He didn't even say your last name at all.
Yeah. That's happened to me. That's happened probably like 2 or 3 times where, yeah, they're just like, yeah, then is Al.
Yeah,
Al, everybody. It's like whatever, you know.
So how you feeling? You comfortable here? Everything all right?
Yeah, this is good. I like this studio. It's very nicely decorated and everything, man. It's pretty sweet.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for moving your physical body to this location. I know it takes time and effort. I appreciate it and recognize it. I want to say thank you.
I appreciate that. Yeah. And thank you for having me here.
Do you recall the first time that you said to yourself, damn, I'm funny. I should be a comedian?
The first time.
When it crossed your mind the first time. Damn.
It probably, well, more importantly than you saying that to yourself, it's when other people say that to you, right? Because, I mean, that's usually what the spark is other people say, like, oh, my God, you should do stand-up. But it probably was when I was a teenager, like in conversation, somebody says something, you have a witty comeback. It wasn't until like 20 years later before I decided I wanted to do stand-up comedy.
Yep.
But, we've all kind of had that in conversations. Like that's a common thing with comedians is that you've been funny around your friends, and then you just either think to yourself or somebody else says that, like, I mean, you're kind of naturally funny. I think you might be able to do this. Think you might be able to do stand-up.
I asked that question with the assumption that you think you're funny. Do you think you're funny?
Not always, but my jokes are. Typical question comedians get asked when
what is that?
Whenever as soon as somebody somebody who's way away from the stand-up comedy world doesn't know anything about it, they'll be like, "Oh, you're a comedian? Are you funny?" Right? And that's now my response is no, but my jokes are. Because who cares whether I'm funny? I get on stage, I got a list of jokes I'm telling, and I'm passing it off as like normal conversation. But it's an incredibly one-sided conversation, and I'm the only one talking through a microphone, right?
Quite a thing.
Nobody cares whether I'm funny.
Quite a thing.
But the jokes you're telling us that the show we paid for, those better be funny.
Yeah.
That's what we care.
They want it to be funny.
They want that.
Where are you from, Al? Al is Al?
Yeah.
That's your name?
That's
name?
my name.
A-L.
Yeah, that's my name.
It's not a short.
I think my
short
parents.
Anything?
My parents did have like a bunch of Indian names that they were throwing around because my ethnicity is Indian.
Yeah.
And so when my parents immigrated here, I was born in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah.
And they were different names they were throwing around, you know, like, and Anil, Amal, this or that, whatever. And then what they did was instead they were just like, whatever, our kid's gonna be American. You just take the two letters Al, take out what's in AL, take out what's in between, put it together. And there's a lot of Indian names where you can do that with, where, you know, like they start with an A, they end with an L, and there's a couple letters in between.
Right on.
And
and that's it, just two letters.
Yeah, nice and simple.
Pretty incredible. I love it. So I understand at this point in your career as a comedian, you've performed not only in the United States, but in other countries. Some international things going on here. Australia, India.
Yeah.
How does this happen?
It's these days it's a lot easier than you think. Like I don't have the pre-internet era to, you know, compare to. Like, you know, there's comedians that have been doing it for 30 years where they can at least talk about like, hey, I mean, I started in 1992 or 1990 and it was a different world then. But it's actually a lot easier. You know, the way that I ended up performing in Australia was, and now, you know, I don't want to oversell myself, make it look like I'm selling out arenas in foreign countries. It's not like that. You know, I'm an unaccredited comedian. But what you do is, if you're ever, you know, to any comics out there, if you're ever going on a trip, what you know, find out the local comedy clubs there, message them sometimes on Facebook. You just say who books, what's their email, and then and a lot of times they'll, like Sydney, Australia Comedy Club. I was pretty new. I was so new when I performed there, and they gave me 3 minutes, and the jokes were good. But if you knew what was going on in here, I was still so new that I wasn't fully comfortable on stage. You know, listening back to that recording, I can tell, like, yeah, my mouth is drying out. You know, I'm a little nervous. You know, but it's pretty easy. And then India was the same exact thing. You know, you go there, you say, I'm a comedian, I'm in town. You know, now the world is so much smaller.
Well, was it a full panic on stage in India?
No.
Oh, good, comfortable.
Actually, one of the things that happened at a show in India, and like in India, I actually was able to be part of like these showcases where each comedian gets 8 to 10 minutes.
Okay.
I was in a room of like 30 people, but in that room it was jam-packed. It was a small room, and literally, normally when I'm here performing, a lot of times I do jokes that are like, okay, I'm a brown-skinned guy. So jokes that are that, get that out of the way. White people love that. Black people love that. You know, so people who are not brown love hearing that. It's refreshing. When I'm in India, I look like everybody else. So I got to make fun of the fact that I don't sound like everybody else. So the first thing I said, I had this joke where I just say like, hey, I'm American, but don't worry, I'm not armed. Right? When I said I'm American to these people, the audience just erupted in laughter. And I'm like, all I said was, hey, so you're probably wondering why I sound like this. I'm American. And they all just started laughing. And I was like, okay, that wasn't the joke. But I was like, hey, I love the laughter, but I didn't expect it there.
That's funny. That's a joke to them in itself. Let's go back to newborn baby Al. You're in Texas. That's where you're born?
Born in Texas.
Okay.
St. Paul Hospital.
St. Paul Hospital. That means nothing to me, but it sounds really lovely.
You know what? I was there until I was 7 months old.
Look at you. Why?
All I did there was drink baby formula.
I think I've read this somewhere as I'm doing research on you.
You read that?
You're 7 months.
I say that on my website.
There it is.
Yeah. Just that's literally all it was. And my parents, you know, moved because whatever. My mom got a job somewhere else, so you move to where the money is. So like St. Paul Hospital means nothing to you. Me neither. I was born there, but I have no clue where it even is. I have to Google. I'd have to Google map it. So I grew up in Delaware.
In Delaware.
I grew up so long in Delaware, I might as well have been born there. Wilmington, Delaware.
That's your spot.
That's the spot. Yeah, that's where I was, you know, pretty much raised from, you know.
You love it? Rich kid, poor kid, middle class. Trailer.
Yeah, middle class. My parents immigrated. My dad knew that he wanted to get out of India. He wanted to come to the land of opportunity, and it's typical immigrant story. Parents came here. You know, they had they were armed with an education. That was important. You know, good degrees, good letters after their name, and and they achieved the American dream. You know, but nothing crazy extravagant. You know, I didn't grow up in some mansion or something, but you know, just good middle class family that's smart with money.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
So for you, school happens. You go to elementary school, high school.
Mm-hmm.
Are you the coolest kid in the high school? The funny guy? Everybody loves you?
Yeah, so back then, everybody thought I was going to grow up to be like an actor and go to Hollywood and stuff like that. I used to act. So in high school, it was weird. I was never, all throughout my schooling, I was never like the popular kid, the center of attention, but also at the same time, I wasn't the one getting picked on all the time. Yeah, I mean, I was bullied a little bit, but like nothing like you hear today, not like some crazy horror story. It was like, a kid who's bigger than you just wants to push you because he can.
But you weren't doing like stand-up in the talent show and the whole auditorium is cheering for you.
No, I was doing theater.
You were doing theater.
Yeah, high school.
Less cheering
high
involved.
School. Right.
In high school. Yeah.
A lot more silence from the audience in theater. But yeah.
So you go to college after high school?
Yeah.
And
I went to University of Delaware.
Okay.
So yeah, Delaware was my schooling from Little Richie kindergarten all the way up to University of Delaware.
What's the major? What are you going in there studying?
Computer and Information Sciences. Yeah.
Wow.
I did IT that was my previous career.
You graduated and you got into IT?
Yeah. And I was I was somewhere between mediocre and good at it. At first I was like, I have no idea why I'm even in this major. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't understand any of this computer code. But yeah, I found my niche.
And then you go to college for 4 years in a row?
Yeah, I did. I was able to. I had a major. I had no minor. I graduated in 3.5.
Nice work.
Yeah.
And then you're immediately working at some company, Initech.
Mm-hmm.
And
I worked for the Delaware version of Initech.
Yeah. And how long does that last? And while that's going on, is that when you start delving into the world of acting?
So I was working at this company in Delaware.
Yeah.
And then I knew I wanted to get out of Delaware, and that's it's typical case. Birds want to fly from the nest, right? They want to, town suburb boy wants to move to the big city, and so I actually moved to Washington D.C. Now, this doesn't make any sense, right? Because I wanted to be an actor. So why wouldn't you move to Hollywood?
Yeah, that would seem to be more of a target.
I took a trip out there when I was 21, and when you cut out all the bullshit, the real reason why I didn't, and I tell this to people who are like 20 years younger than me, is fear.
Fear.
That's all it was fear.
You didn't want to step out of the comfort zone.
Exactly.
Fear is your only god.
I've learned the hard way that the comfort zone gets boring.
Yeah, it does.
And I had to spend years being comfortable. To do that. Yeah. And so, it was fear that kept me. But, DC had its stuff. Like, I mean, there were independent producers that were working. I did government industrials, like you can get a couple $100 because, especially after 9/11, I moved to DC in 2004. So you had Department of Homeland Security was in full swing. So a lot of times, I'd be working my day job in IT. But on the weekends, a lot of times I would try to score these gigs where it's like, okay, we're going to do this thing on, safety and security of private information in the workplace. And, I did, there was a film I was in called Betrayed. And it was about a guy who, it was all fake, but what happened was the FBI realized, we could do some stupid little dinky training video, or we could hire a real production company with a real budget, real actors. They put $500,000 into a project that when you watch it, it's 45-minute film. When you watch it, it's Hollywood style. It's at that level. Yeah. It's an amazing film, and it's just about a guy who's frustrated in his job, and he starts selling secrets because he thinks that he can do a better job protecting the country than the FBI. It's all fake.
Yeah.
But it's the lesson in that was if you hear about if your coworker seems suspicious, anonymously rat them out, because if they're not if they're not a threat, if they're not suspicious, then hey. So that's okay. But so I used to do a lot of projects like that, like government projects and independent films when I was acting.
On the independent film topic, I understand you went on to be in a number of them, and you're quoted as saying independent films that went nowhere. Now,
I
throughout this process of being involved in
like,
some films that have gone nowhere, do you learn something? Is there something learned there?
Okay, absolutely.
You
a lot of
take it away.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't have changed the experience. And part of that thing, too, is like It's like when you read my bio on my website and I say like, yeah, he first was in films that went nowhere.
Yeah.
Some of that too is that like comedians love to self-deprecate.
Of course,
you know,
yes,
like I'm
yeah.
gonna make fun of myself so that you don't have the chance to make fun of me first. You know,
Yeah,
it's a lot of
more
that thing.
entertaining for the reader.
Yeah, like I don't want to write some bio that nobody, hey, here's this unknown guy. Let me give you all these boring details about his life that you don't care about. You know.
So then around 2015, you decide, I'm out of this acting world. I got an interest in comedy now. I got a comedy bug.
Right. Well, it wasn't so immediate. What happened was when I was with my ex-wife, I actually, talk about comfort zone. I got tired of the acting world. Yeah. And I honestly wanted the boring 8 to 5 lifestyle.
8 to 5? Is that what it is where you're from?
In a 9 to 5, 8 to 5. When I was with the government, it was actually 9 to 6 was my schedule. But I wanted the cushy lifestyle. I wanted, the home. I wasn't sure whether I wanted kids. I don't have kids. But so I wanted the comfort and the security.
Yeah.
And I wanted to not have children, and me and my wife at the time just stack our money, go on vacations, and retire by the time we're 50. That's what I wanted out of life. And this might not be the story for everybody out there, but hey, if the comfort zone works for you and you're happy, stay with it. But in my case, I could feel not only did the marriage fall apart for its own reasons, but like what coincided with that, it sort of happened around the same time that I was like, I gotta perform again. I have all these ideas. Maybe I should do stand-up comedy. So it was just sort of like, I got all these thoughts. I see things in society. There's funny stories from my life. We all have this. We're like. And there's a lot of times the best jokes come from things that annoy you. So you're just like, you're driving around and you're just
observations.
You're like, well, why does that say that? Why does that say that? When they say that, do they understand what they're saying? Yeah, and so I had all these notes in my phone, and I was like, you got to find an open mic and just start. So November, like around November of 2015 was when I finally was like, Go do it. Just go do it. You're going to be, I had enough life experience to know that, you're not going to set the world on fire.
Where'd you go do it?
So the first place I ever performed, it was a music open mic. I was the only comedian.
Okay.
It was called Dogfish Bar and Grill in downtown Portland. I don't know if they still do, but they used to have every Wednesday they have a music open mic there.
Right.
And so, I put my name on the list for $9.55, but at music open mics, you're a musician, like it's like when they give you a 5-minute slot that ends up being 15 minutes because like 5 minutes, my ass, one song is going to be 3-4 minutes. So by 10:55, 11 o'clock in front of people that just want to go home and sleep, they were like, we have a comedian. They finally got to my name, and I went up there. I had like 4 jokes. I probably spent more time blah 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 than punchline. More yada yada than punchline. And when you're
was it? Did you do 5 minutes?
I think I did 5 minutes. 5, 6, 7 minutes, something like that.
How was it received that first time?
Giggles.
Some giggles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you're new, when you get up in front of the mic, in front of the crowd for the first time, in front of a crowd for the first time, you are dead afraid of dead silence.
Real.
Yeah.
My gosh.
Yeah. And so in my case, I actually opened up by just saying that, like, hey, I've been on this earth long enough to know that I could literally just start crying here and piss myself, and you guys would forget about me in 10 minutes. So. I tried to use that as a tactic to calm me down, but I was still nervous.
That's good.
Anytime that if I said a joke and it took a second for it to sink in that second you're like, they're not laughing. They're not laughing, Yeah, that's how it is for every beginner comedian,
You ever get to a point of such panic that you kind of wrapped it up and got off the stage?
Never. No.
Never.
No. I've bombed on stage before. Everybody has. I mean, no, I've never. You just make fun of yourself then, and you just, you say, I usually say something. The last set I had before the pandemic, the last show, I spent 15 minutes bombing on stage. It was terrible.
That's how you went out.
Yeah, and I told the audience, I said, hey, I'm sucking horribly tonight, but I was over that threshold where I didn't care.
Yeah.
You know, I cared in the sense that
Of
I'm going to go back
course,
to the
yeah,
drawing board
where
and
you-
see where I made a mistake. And I
It
know
wasn't
what
from
my mistakes
panic of
were.
being in front of an audience.
But I
Right.
told the audience, I was like, hey, you know, and I made fun of it. I was like, guys, I'm 13 minutes in, and I know it feels like 40. You know, like, I apologize for that. I ended with like one of my best jokes, but by that point, they didn't give a crap up to that point. So, you know, you make fun of yourself. Leave, even if you bomb, leave with them liking you.
Yeah.
Because that's another aspect of it. They should still like you.
He was a nice guy, though.
Yeah, he sucked tonight, but he was a nice guy.
He was a nice guy.
I saw a comedian last weekend who was too high to perform. He kept forgetting what he was doing. Like we've all been, you know, we've all
Mitch
been.
Hedberg, this situation.
It was Mitch Hedberg came back from the grave. And, he was a hologram.
I love Mitch. So good. But really, things have started to work for you. You're performing all the time. Was there like a pivotal show, like you crushed some performance, some event, something where people were like, yo, Al G he's real. We should get him on things.
I mean, if that's ever happened, no. Like every comedian is looking for that right person to see them so that it launches their career. But I don't. The longer I'm in this business, the more I've learned from people, my mentor, people who are senior to me in the industry, is that like it's a slow process. You will, even comedians that pay their mortgages off of it, they still hustle for themselves. There's no moment, you know, they still, somebody who thinks, you know, like I've had shows where like I did a great job and people in the room were like, oh yeah, you were great and you were so funny. I've had those moments too, just like I've had moments where I bombed. But like, as far as like, this is it. This is the show that launched it for me. I'm now a touring comedian in New England. No. There's there hasn't been that moment of I've arrived. It's a gradual, you know, it's a one step at a time.
You mentioned that when you were out there on the road, maybe Funny Bone, is that the name of the place?
Funny Bone was huge. That was
some
awesome.
national headliners there.
Yeah.
Are there some acts that you were like, wow, this is pretty dope that I am?
Yeah.
And who are those people?
Leonard Oots. Was amazing, and Michael Q. He's a comic from L.A. Leonard, I'm not sure which of the big hubs he's from, but Funny Bone was awesome because that was my first time. I did Funny Bone. I've done Funny Bones 3 times, and that was the first time where I was in front of like 200, 300 people. And it's so refreshing because comedians in the beginning, you only go to open mics and it's all comedians who don't give a shit about what you're saying because they're just thinking about their own set, so they're half paying attention to you. And then I sit down and I do the same thing to them. But when you're in front of a real, like a paying audience and there's like 200 or 300 of them in the room, it's a rush.
Hello, make me laugh, please.
But I wanted to tell you why I thought Leonard Oots.
Tell me why.
So Leonard Oots and Michael Q.
Tell me why.
I liked them for 2 different reasons. The first night I was at Funny Bone hosting for Leonard Oots.
Yes.
I had a mediocre set. You know, again, I was still kind of fairly new. And the audience, so there were 30 people in a room that seats 300. So it looked like barely anybody was in the room.
It already kind of
More professional comedians know how to do crowd work. They know how to, like, you know, make fun of the situation. That's what I loved about Leonard Oots. He did like an hour and 15 minutes. And he did a great, I sat down and I took a lesson. You know, because I was like, why did my 7 minutes, you know, suck?
He's up
and
here
I watched him, and his first, he wasn't getting the great reaction he wanted, so he just started talking to people. He started making fun of the fact that, hey, why are these chairs out? We should put them on the table, you know. And then that's why I liked him. And then the second time I was there, I had hosted for Michael Q. And this is a headliner from California, and he tours all over. And I liked him because he just had a great, strong 45-minute set. Even when in the middle of his set, when you're in a room of 300 people, when you're starting to lose them, it still sounds like they're laughing. Yeah. But he knew that, like, okay, the previous laughs were loud. Now I'm losing them, and he immediately started doing crowd work, and it brought the show back. And I asked him in the green room afterwards, like, hey, why did you do that all of a sudden? He's like, because I could tell that previous joke, they pulled back a little bit. So I talked to the couple in the front to bring everybody back in. Yeah. And it was tactics. You learn a lot. I mean, any comedian, you always sit down and watch the show. Like when you're opening for somebody, watch the show, watch them work, because you're going to learn something.
So currently, as you're out there performing, who are some comedians that you're on the circuit with, guys that you're doing shows with regularly? Is that a thing for you?
I work with first name that comes to mind is Ben Chadwick. He hosted for me at Newburyport. And
Ben Chadwick.
Yeah, Ben Chadwick. And then I'll be hosting for him at a show in Portland that he's headlining.
Look how that goes.
And so, and a lot of people think that, comedy is like, oh, it's competitive. And it's like, yeah, it's competitive, but it's a network. We work with each other. There is a family, a family-ish aspect to it. Ben Chadwick, Gabriel Barrymore. There's a lot of great comedians like Tim Duffy and Keith Hebert up in Portland. I got a show I'm doing in Everett, Massachusetts on
where in Everett?
At Bone Up Beer.
Bone Up
on April 22nd.
Look at
I've got Leonard. I'm headlining. I got
look at you.
Not Leonard. Leland Newton. He's from I think Nashua, New Hampshire, but he's in the area. Leland Newton and Kathleen DeMarle from Boston.
Right on.
And I apologize, Leland and Kathleen, if you see this and I messed up the exact names of where you're from.
Hey, but you are loved.
But if you're in Massachusetts and you're a comedian, I just say you're from Boston. She's straight out of Boston.
Yeah,
everybody loves that. I could be dead wrong about that, but yeah.
You comfortable with me giving you a gift?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Depends on the gift. I mean,
wow.
Is it one of those things where you open it and then like the snake thing pops out into your face?
That. No funny business.
Yeah, no, I would love to see it.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, what do we got here? All right, so it's a box that says "Enjoy your life." Very beautifully wrapped.
Hey, look at that, and all wrapped up for you. Go to the top, and you'll see that. No, the other top. Flip it all the way over.
The other top.
See that sticker? That's kind of yeah. Hold that one. Look at this now. Yeah, let's get involved.
Let's
get involved.
Whoa! Look at this, dude. Look at the branding.
Come on, huh?
This is more than just a website.
Yeah, it is.
So I got a question. What are these?
So I'm not sure.
I think I saw them in a history book.
They come in the mail all the time to the studio.
I think they're called compact discs or something
like this.
That's what CD stands for. No, I'm kidding. I'm not that young. I know. What does this do?
So
Rebuilds.
Organic, natural shop in Raleigh, Mass. All types of natural products in there for you, too.
Awesome. Hey, and 1 pound of marijuana. No, I'm kidding. Hey, a shirt.
Look at this. That's going to look
cool.
sharp on you.
Enjoy your life.
Yeah. Ooh,
this is awesome.
Polo shirt. Yeah.
Thanks. I mean, there's more stuff in here, but
what? Let's go. Let's see what it is.
Let's see what else we got here.
Yeah, who knows?
We got Cap Santhin.
Yeah,
you got stuff in here I've never even heard of.
Yeah, some types of plants, man.
This is why it's fun doing podcasts and stuff. You learn another thing of that. What's that supposed to do? I mean, I don't have a magnifying glass, so I can't read this right now.
You can figure all that out on your own. Ooh, tank top. I know you're hitting the gym. Come on.
You know what? I'll wear this tomorrow.
Look at this.
Yeah, no bullshit. I'm not just like.
Are you serious?
I'm not just saying that for the camera. I mean, why not? You know, it's a shirt. I mean, yeah.
All right, wear that shirt.
Why not?
No reason not to.
Yeah.
I don't see the reason.
I mean, I can tell by the material. It feels comfortable and everything.
It's so nice.
You know, I got workout shirts that I don't like wearing because they're uncomfortable. $10 off your next purchase. At Organic Natural.
Place that just gave you all that beautiful stuff.
At the place. Yeah, cool.
What a world.
So you own this place?
I do not. No, that's a guy his name is also Michael. And he supports the show, that shop.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. The what's the actual name? Organic Natural Shop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all the good, clean food that you want to put in your body.
Vitamin A and T.
And some tea. So at this point in your life, do people say to you things like, oh, so, Al, you're a comedian now. You're going to make me laugh? Make me laugh. Tell me a joke, Al.
Yeah.
They do that.
Yep. And if you there's a book called Mastering Stand-Up by Steven Rosenfield.
Okay.
And I'm not a big reader, right? So if I ever say I'm terrible at it, I lose my attention span so badly. If I say a book is good and that I actually finished it cover to cover, it's got to be a page turner because I suck at reading.
Okay.
In that book, he says whenever somebody asks you, "Tell me a joke right now," no. Answer is no.
The answer is no.
Stuff, when you tell jokes on stage, it doesn't translate as well. We don't, as comedians, we don't tell street jokes. And what I like to look at it from what I've learned, anytime I sound like I'm being wise, it's because I've heard it from somebody else and I'm repeating it. Not much wisdom came from my own brain in my life. But the thing I tell people is like, don't look at it like you're going on stage to tell jokes. You're going on stage to express yourself through humor, through jokes. Because the best stuff, what is it? The best stuff comedians tell, if you pay close attention, your favorite jokes, as soon as a comedian says, yeah, and this is what happened to me the other day. I was talking to this guy. As soon as it's personal, the audience is like, okay, all right. So they know what they're talking about.
So many jokes have that little lead in.
Yeah, you say my family, my dad, my mom. Nobody can argue with you. That's your mom.
I was in the airport on the way here. Yeah.
It adds that personal touch.
Of course.
Whereas if I get on stage and I'm like, yeah, a priest and a rabbi walked into a bar. It's like, no, that's what freaking magazines and Reader's Digest is for.
On the topic of getting on stage, how do you choose the outfit you wear? The clothing, the garments that cover your body.
I keep it as simple. Well, number one, I've learned this the hard way too. You got to be plain. I mean, even a shirt like this where it has a design.
That's a lot.
It's fine, but at least I would never wear this. But I've seen people wear a similar shirt.
Yep.
It's not as bad as having something with writing, because at least with this design, people are just like, okay, whatever,
I don't
right?
know what he means.
But if you are wearing distracting clothing, so people are not paying attention to your jokes. So when I go on stage, I actually recently bought. Like a few months ago, I wanted to go the Einstein route of simplifying the wardrobe. Reach in, pull out the next thing.
Boom.
Don't waste your time thinking about trivial stuff like what you're going to wear. So I bought 6 plain shirts.
I love that. Yep.
Get 6 plain shirts at Target. I enjoy wearing something with a zip up, because there's something about when this is going to sound weird, but for some reason I feel like I have better. I feel more comfortable on stage when I have a light jacket on, because there's something about it. It might just be me, but it's like
sleeping in the woods with or without a tent. It's just a thin piece of vinyl, but you feel better when you have it.
But exactly. Yeah, right. And I think what it is there's something about like
safe.
A small coat and confidence.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. But I guess because I kind of feel like even though I'm being professional and it is a job and I am performing in front of you, I still just sort of feel like if I have a coat, I feel like some dude who just came in off the street and was like, yo, let me crush this room in a minute. I got stuff to tell you. It's psychological.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I don't find that weird.
I like to have
all.
either a hoodie or but worst case scenario, if I'll go with just a plain t-shirt.
So. Can you do this? Can you describe to me your comedic style? Like, is there a genre that it falls into? Or maybe more directly, a question, is there something, what is it that makes your comedy different than the next guy? Even more directly, because I like this.
Yeah.
If I'm sitting at my house and I'm going tonight, I'm going to go see some comedy. And I look, and I see you're here, the exact same distance from my house as this other person, the exact same distance from my house in the different direction, and the room is the same. It's the same kind of venue. Why am I going to go see you?
Right. Why? That's a very good...
long question.
That's a long... I followed it, though. Yeah. I totally followed the question. But it's a very good question, right? And so I would say the biggest thing that it's not that my jokes are only this, but the best jokes of mine is the family humor of my unique experiences being a first generation American. I'm telling you, the jokes that are at the top of my list that are the best of the best that I usually have that are the meat of it is, I don't try to pull the race card too much.
Yep.
And I believe that when it comes to being the only brown guy in front of a white audience, the only brown guy in front of a black audience, or the only whatever. When you hear that, I never want to do the black people do it this way and white people do it that way of Indian humor. That's because somebody told me, so what makes it unique is that like everybody knows, we were talking about this before the show. Yeah. Everybody knows, the whole Indian tech support stereotype. I would never have a joke about that if it wasn't coming from my own personal experiences.
Right.
So that's the big thing I bring to the table is that I actually had a guy tell me after a show that like, that was funny and I actually learned something.
So you make up no scenes. All of your bits are from real
life experiences. And,
You're
comedians.
never like, I walked into the store the other day just because you thought of this great bit. But you didn't actually walk into the store.
So sometimes what comics do is for the sake of brevity, you can't sit there and if you try to tell the real story and the way it happened, audiences will be yawning like, you're going to get to a damn punchline here in the next 2 minutes.
All the things.
Right. So sometimes what comedians do is we take a story. Oh, sure. I don't want to knock anything over. It's like a museum in here. But what comics do is we take like a story, and it's really like something that might have happened on two similar things happen on 2 different days, let's say. Yes. And you just combine it, and then you make it, and because it's easier. It's like get to the point. It's like I was at the grocery store last week, and you've been telling that joke for 4 years.
Yeah.
Add
some twists.
You have to do that. Like there's material of mine that it's like really, my dad said this, and really he said one thing on one day, he said another thing probably a month later, but I have to combine it.
On the topic of your dad here, I understand he has unique advice for ways to make sure you bring specific items with you when you go places. For example, if you are going to karate and you fail to bring your mouthpiece simply because you forgot, what would the advice from your old man be?
It might be something like, you forgot, tie it to your dick from now on and you won't forget. I love the way you said that question.
I like this.
I'm flattered too that you knew that as.
Yeah. So another thing here is that your father saw no need in you learning any language associated with India. He felt that it would be more valuable for you and your brother,
right?
Older brother?
Younger
brother, to learn English and Spanish.
Right.
He was correct, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was absolutely. This is America. Learn how to speak Spanish.
That's so true.
Yep. That's another example of a joke where it was, I have a whole bit about it, but like that's an example of a joke where in reality it was 2 different days. Like it was one day where I think I had a longer version of the joke that I had to just kind of cut. Yeah. And it was when I was a kid, my mom would speak to us in their mother tongue and English. Marathi and English, and so I could understand Marathi without even thinking about it. And I remember as like a kid, I was like, Dad, you never talk to us in anything but English. And he actually said, he's like, you two are born in America. Indian languages are completely useless for you guys. And then, fast forward some years later, when I was getting into high school, like he was just like, this coming year you should take Spanish. Yeah, because you didn't take it last. So of course, for the joke, you just combine those 2 stories.
Oh yeah, of course.
That's what. Yeah,
I like the bit that you have about when your brother's hanging out in Cuba and he calls you, and how his whole vibe changes when he's speaking Spanish.
My brother's a weird dude. Yeah, like he's.
What's this weird guy's name?
Leo.
Yeah,
he's named after a Ninja
3
Turtle.
letters. They went big with that.
Yeah, well, I wanted him to be called Leonardo. I was 8 years old when he was born. I was a huge Ninja Turtles fan. My parents were like, okay, all right, we're not calling him Leonardo. Like, we're going to show you, you're ridiculous. Let's shorten it to Leo. That'll be easier.
Let's talk about your writing process. You're writing jokes. What do? You put it in your phone?
Usually, I've gotten a lot of indirect advice from Joe Rogan. I say indirect because I've never met the guy, but Rogan is one of my idols. Because I'm a martial artist and a comedian. He's a martial artist and a comedian. But
let's get into that real quickly here. What do you mean you're a martial artist?
I did Kenpo from the age of 10. Kenpo karate.
Age of 10 until current?
I got my black belt when I was 17. I didn't, I wasn't some championship level, like tournament competing person.
Now?
But
is this happening now?
Now I train on my own. You know, I try to keep throughout. That's part of my workout. I work out every day. Part of my workout is I know it looks like I work out every day, but I swear to God, 7 days a week. Ever since I became single too, like just.
Well, then what's that about? How does that happen?
This is because I one muffin at a time. I cannot go carbless.
Wow.
That maybe one day.
You love muffins.
Well, muffins. That's just because that was the most recent carb thing I ate. But really, I love to take like date bars, mix like this is my healthy dessert. Date bars, crush them up like that brand. I forget the name of the brand, but
I don't know.
You crush up this date protein bar. It's like date almonds and something else.
Yeah.
And then mix peanut butter and honey in there, and then I heat it in the oven for like a little bit. For like a couple minutes.
Wow, you have patience that I wouldn't have with that.
Well, it's heating while I'm eating my dinner.
Okay.
But let's go back to the writing process. So I learned from I'm a fan of Rogan's podcast, and except the insensitive racial crap that he has said, when he was too high. But overall, I've heard his podcast, and it's like write 1 hour a day. And sit there and don't try to make a joke. Just type your feelings out. Whatever the heck you're feeling, just sit there and type it out, and sometimes a gem will blossom out of that. Or worst case scenario, you put that discipline in. The difference between a professional and an amateur is that the professional goes to work. Now, my goal is always write 1 hour a day. What ends up actually happening, and I need to improve on this, is I end up writing 4 days a week, and it's a little scattered. Yeah. But a lot of times for me,
is it more than 1 hour normally?
No. It's maximum 1 hour because afterwards my brain just starts getting fried.
Okay.
It's what I do is my process is writing and rehearsal. 1 hour. So rehearsals included. So before I did
by writing, give me a little more detail.
Just sitting at the computer.
Have a pen and paper?
I have a document called Writing Aimlessly. And I open it up, and I just sit there
on my computer, use a keyboard to
on the computer and the Microsoft Word. And right at the top, I have like certain.
That's funny.
I got like certain. I got on the Google. Right at the top, I have these questions in red that are: what is annoying you? What are things you do that are embarrassing? Because if I have a blank page, it's hard to think. So right away I have those questions. What's something that's annoying you? What's something that you want in life that you're not getting? What's a situation recently where you were kind of the victim and people can laugh at you on stage that like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened to him. And so that I type from there. Most of the time though, what ends up happening is I'm out in the world doing stuff. I come up with an idea. I then send that to myself in an email. Right. And then that way also there's a timestamp on the email. And then every time I revise that joke, so like now when I go sit down for the writing session, I at least have stuff in my email that like, all right, let's look through here. What do we want to talk about? We want to talk about airports. We want to talk about, the sex joke. What do I want to talk about? And I pick one of those. And then now I sit at my desk and I say it out loud. Like, let's talk it out loud and then type what you're saying.
Who's the first audience that hears this?
We're open mics. In this generation of comedy, we're so lucky we have open mics with other comedians, and sometimes there's regular people at these bars sitting there eating, and they get to hear it too, and that's where you test out the material.
Are you sometimes so excited about a joke that you go to the open mic and tell it prematurely when it's not actually fully developed, and you're like, oh, did I just...
Oddly, I'm the other way around. Ironically, I'm the other way around. Because
neurotic, it's got to be perfect.
One thing recently I've learned,
I see that in you.
At an open mic a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
One thing that I did was I told them that I was like I did like 5 minutes. Yeah. And it was like mostly like good material, and then I like polished, and then I said at the end I was like, you know what, guys, like the host was giving people 5, 7, 8 minutes, whatever. I told them, I said, you know what, I was like, this is something I'm trying to get better at, and I told this to the audience. I was like, I always have this habit where I want a joke to be really polished the first time I tell it, and I need to get better at just like ranting an idea out. And I was like, so here's something going on in my life. Don't expect it to be funny. There might be something funny in it. I don't know. So let's just talk about it. And I spent the last 2 minutes just ranting about it. And there were some giggles here and there. But then I listened to the recording. That's something I've been learning to do more recently, is like, don't try to like type it out and have it perfect, because you might also the problem is there might be some lost opportunities in there. You know, because I might rant about something,
just completely stick to the script.
Yeah. Well, you and I were talking about this before the show that there's jokes I have sometimes where I don't even find them that funny, but audiences do. So I keep telling them, well, in your rant there might be something in there that's gold and you didn't even realize it. So so I'm actually trying to switch gears and do that more, where it's like, hey, just go to an open mic and just talk shit out, figure it out on stage.
I like that. I like that approach. It's also learning something about yourself there, because you're like living in the grip of life at that moment. It's inspiring. Absolutely. Especially if while you're doing it, it's like it's going so well. You're like, that high, that natural high, that's a beautiful thing. You can't really get it without that little improv jam right there.
That's also a cool feeling whenever you're ranting about something and it ends up actually being funny and you're like, oh geez, I didn't even.
It's going so good, and then you start freaking out like, oh my god, where do I go from here? And that's it.
Yeah.
But wait, I got this. No, that's it.
Musicians can't do that with songs. You can't go up there and be like, I think I'm gonna put a G chord there. Actually, no. You know what? Let's start that over. Like they'll be like, "What the hell's going on with this guy?" I thought he was a musician. You know what I find so fascinating about musicians and comparing musicians to comedians? What? You cannot be a cover comedian. No. Musicians can make a living.
That's interesting.
Singing other people's songs, and I've watched cover bands. I love it. I'm like, hey, it's a song I love, and somebody else is singing it.
Be a thing?
But I would sometimes. I don't think it ever will be, because a big thing about comedy is like is like, it's about you. It's about the subject is always the comedian. But sometimes I would love to go on stage and just do 5 minutes of Bill Burr, 5 minutes of Rogan, 5 minutes of Carlin, 5 minutes of Louis C.K., and then just 5 minutes of Chris Rock. Like, I would love that, man. I got so many of those bits memorized. But I can't do that as a comedian.
A lot of great material there. So on this topic of stealing jokes, ultimately, you never do that. Or you've done it.
Don't ever do that. No. I have never intentionally done that. In fact,
you said intentionally. Is that because at some point there was an accusation against you?
No. Okay. Usually what it was, I've never accidentally or intentionally stolen a whole joke.
Yep.
What it usually is we have these things in the comedy community called feedback open mics. Yep. You go, a bunch of comedians, we all listen to each other. 5 minutes, you do your set. Jason Oxhorn in New York City runs 2 joke minimum, and it's on Zoom. Yep. 5 minutes, and then 5 minutes of feedback from the comedians. And comedians will tell you that, like, constructive feedback, that like, hey, if you change this, and sometimes they give you better tags. What I've been told sometimes is like, the topic is overdone. Yeah. Like that joke you did, like there was some joke I did about which I've thrown out. I was trying it out at this open mic, and it was about you ever feel stupid when you finish jerking off to a porn video, and then afterwards you're sitting there, instead of cleaning up, you scroll down and start reading the comments, and you're like, what the fuck am I doing? Like 2 minutes later, you're like, why am I reading comments about this, right? It's hilarious in conversation, but when I tried it as a joke, at this feedback open mic, the other comedians, they were like, well, Hannibal Buress already has a joke about that, and it's better. And so usually I have accidentally repeated a topic that's just been overdone.
Yeah.
And again, we're lucky that we live in a comedy era where it's not like the Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock days, where we get to go to open mics and test shit out. Back in the day, you go up there with 10 new minutes and just bomb. And that's how you learned in front of a ticket-paying audience that all your new jokes suck. And so we are lucky what we have these days. And so, you do not steal jokes. That you cannot do that. And if you find out you accidentally stole one, and you legitimately are like, I didn't know, it was just parallel thinking. You got to get rid of it.
I didn't mean it. I promise. Do you find yourself hanging out with comedians like your regular friends, or are comedians kind of annoying to you?
No, actually neither. Before the pandemic, there was a clique of us that we used to meet up and hang out and stuff like that. Or go to we pick somebody's house. And it's like, all right, who's providing the house? Who's providing the food this time? And we actually I'm glad you reminded me. We need to get back into doing that. Because mostly where I hang out and chat with comedians is at shows or at open mics. Before and after the show, we chat. And then when you
coming at you with some great reminders tonight.
You have great questions,
Dave Russo. Yeah.
Right. You reminded me of Dave. Yeah, I got to get back in touch with him. Yeah. Yeah. And when comedians get together and they're in a circle chit-chatting, at some point you got to cut the night off. You got to be like, all right, because we'll say something funny, then somebody else will have a tag to that, and then somebody else will have it, and it's just a conversation. And people will keep on piling it on, and you're like, all right, it's 11:30. I got to get home.
Comedians are hanging out. You're telling jokes the whole time?
Not like, but it's like, it's conversation. It's like we're having a conversation, and then something funny pops out, and then another comedian will be like, yeah, and then you go there on Saturday, and then they're like, yeah, but then you can't because the dog's there, and they just keep on piling stuff on sometimes.
I like that.
And you're like, all right, we're unaccredited comedians. We have day jobs. I got to go home and sleep.
I feel like all the comedians I know and all of them that have been here on this show go see a therapist. How's your relationship with your therapist?
Well, actually, I got this counselor guy that I just go see every now and then, but
what do you?
I don't go to like a regular therapist every single week. I mean, usually I get kind of my therapy from just like, friends, community.
Yeah.
People, like, you have to have people in your life that you can be fully raw and unfiltered with.
The real things.
The real shit. Real friends are the ones who are going to sit there and listen to the shit.
Yeah.
Acquaintances are the ones that, you chat with when things are going good.
Cheers.
Yeah.
That was a little unusual.
Yeah, you have to have that network.
Yes. So what's next for you? What does the future hold? Or Al?
Well, us being in
Ghanekar.
Newburyport, Massachusetts, I want to give a shout out to Newburyport Brewing because I want to be doing more of stuff like that where, of course, every comedian, we want stage time. Right now.
You just want to be on stage.
Yeah, well, right now, as far as
the goal is what? What's the goal? You want stardom. You want glamour, glitz. You want that.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, first thing is you got to be
Chris Rock.
But see, I don't chase that though because that comes with its own problems. You don't want to be somebody where like, great, you're a millionaire and you don't, the industry, you don't have to fight anymore to get stage time. But then everything you say, people are like, it's like,
Are you saying you don't? What you would want this? You wouldn't want this?
No, I would want it, but I would recognize that it's not like, I'm going to hit that magical moment and then everything's perfect. It's like, no, it comes with its own problems.
Chew them up and spit them out. Yeah,
but
you might
number
not be
one
there
thing
long.
is getting better at the craft. That's the number one thing is like, I want 1 hour of like right now I have 45 minutes of like tight material.
Look at
like, I mean, anybody can stand there and talk for an entire hour, but do you have actual tight, concise jokes? And one of the ways that I found out.
Are you kind of neurotic about it? Spreadsheets?
I'm a little bit, not crazy, but I forget stuff. Like I forget, like, oh crap, I need to move that email off of this spreadsheet to the other one. But a big thing for me, goal-wise, is like, Newburyport Brewing is the first brewery that allowed me to do a full hour. And so I'm contacting a lot of these breweries around New England and saying like, hey, yeah, let me come, headline. This is, I'll pay for the promotional costs and I'll print out a poster size thing and send it to you for advertising, all that. And what I learned in the Newburyport show was that, you did 1 hour, 1 minute. That was what I timed it out as. 45 minutes of that is solid.
Was pretty
good. The other
good.
15 minutes is weak, and it's either mediocre or weak, or it needs to be thrown out or punched up.
So you film and watch the whole playback like it's just like you just had a game.
Yeah.
You're sitting with coach.
Which you would think we're so narcissistic that we like doing it. We hate it. I hate it. I hate sitting there having to listen to myself. But you have to see. You have to see where you failed, what you can punch up and make better. And then the second thing, craft-wise, that I want to get better at is I'm amazed at people that can do crowd work so well. And I've gotten better at that. I've had shows recently where like it's like 15 people in a room that seats way more, and you can tell like I'm doing my best jokes and the reaction is not as big. So I was just like, just calm down. Like this last show where I had to do that, I was like, just talk to this table. It's already not going great, and so just chill and talk to people. And then it brought the room back in. And like I'm always amazed when I see comedians that can like. They can crush the room just talking to people.
Whole time.
And because there's always funny stuff.
I want to say this kid's name, but I can't think of it. But it's pretty much his whole, and he's crushing out there. He's just talking to everyone in the room.
Do you know Jim McHugh in Portsmouth? He runs McHugh's Comedy Club.
I don't know Jim McHugh,
he was on, he did Dry Bar Comedy, and he was amazing. Like he does a mix of crowd work and jokes. he's amazing at crowd work, and he's so chill about it. He's very friendly too.
I'll
Like
look into Jim
he doesn't
Machu.
give you that feeling that like where the audience is like, oh God, he's gonna make fun of us. No, like he's just like, yeah,
he's
what
gonna
do
make
you
us do stuff.
No,
Here we
he's
go.
very nice, and he's good at it. He's amazing at crowd work.
I love it.
Yeah, so I look up to people like that, and I want to get to that level.
Everything is gonna happen.
Which it's just practice.
Yeah.
Just practice.
Well, Al, 2 reasons really that I asked you to come here today.
Mm-hmm.
On this day. First reason is, man, I think it's so incredible when a human has a passion, something that they just love. And it's something that simultaneously is one that most people would dismiss as not realistic, not an option. You can't do that. But you take this passion and you actually pursue it to its fullest, and you take steps towards the goal of this thing every single day until you make it a reality. So living a life doing something that you love is incredible. It's inspiring to other people. And that's one of the reasons why I asked you to come here, because it's incredible to watch humans do something that they really want to do.
It is.
Perhaps on the opposing side, it's a little sad that is admirable where we stand right now, but it is. You're out there doing what you want to do with your time, taking the risk.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, you have to.
Exciting.
Or else you're going to be on your deathbed wondering what could have been.
That's it. No one wants that.
Like my goal is either go straight to the top or die trying.
You're on this path, and at some point, right? You've probably heard this. You have to make a decision. Do you go left? Well, it's secure. It's going to be fine. I see where it's going to take me. Yeah, and then when I'm this age, I'll do this. And then you have this, or I could go right. And you're really just like getting out, stepping out of everything. Oh, my gosh. But it's going to be exciting. And that journey, and it's just like so colloquial to say, but that journey is the reward of living a life.
Yes.
So many people go through life without ever starting their life's journey.
Right.
Not
They
you.
do what they're paid for, but not what they're made for.
Not you.
No.
That's
And
right.
you got to put food on the table. You got to, but we were talking about David Goggins. Like
That's what I'm saying.
those voices, they're there every day. There's probably one
That's
thought
it.
of like, why am I doing this? I don't want to see the country. I don't want to travel to these comedy clubs all over the country. I don't want to see look at the news. There's that voice that's scared, that wants to stay home and just live a quiet life. Then there's that other voice that's like, you're gonna, I heard a wise man say this, who got it from another wise man on one of these 1,000 motivational videos that are out there. That I think it was a Denzel Washington speech. If you play it small, you're turning your back on the talent that the universe has already put in you. And I mean, he said God and all this, but I'm not religious, so but you've already been given something, a talent, and whatever it is, music, comedy, building furniture, sculpting pottery, whatever it is,
windows,
if you don't push it to the extreme, without hurting yourself, without like getting seizures and sleeping 3 hours a night or anything crazy, but as long as you live a balanced life and you try to go as far as you can with it, if you don't, you're gonna always wonder, so the worst case scenario for me is that I leave this earth and people will say, he didn't get what he did. He didn't get his due, but that guy was relentless.
Yep.
He would not stop. He's finally quit just because he's
dead. You're not going to
dead.
be transitioning to whatever goes on.
Yeah.
Thinking, damn, I never actually really tried.
Of course, now that I said that and it's
Kind of a
recorded, I
loser.
can't fuck up. Now I can't screw up. Now I can never give into that.
That train is
I
moving
can't give
forward.
into that fearful voice, but yeah.
So I said there was 2 reasons. Second reason is
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
In life, as a human, whether subconsciously or consciously, we decide what our outward behavior is, what our vibration is that we put out into the world. And you can go out and interact with people and be a negative force.
Yeah.
Or you can go out into the world and be a positive force. And from my experiences with you, as limited as they are, you come in here today. We just met. We could be acting like complete strangers. How long have I known you? 1 hour and 12 minutes here.
Right.
But you walk in and the boundary is broken. You're like, there's not going to be a wall here because what's the point of that? What are we really doing if you're going to come in here in a shell with this box around you?
Yeah.
You come in, you let the barrier fall down, and you're a kind and gentle human being. I respect that.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
That's it.
Likewise, that's how I feel about you too. Yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Right.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And also, like I always say, I really enjoy giving compliments because I feel that at some age, we kind of just stop giving compliments like outwardly.
Right.
We expect that people know what we're thinking. Now, he knows I like him.
Right.
You know, obviously knows I think he's a good guy. He's got something going on because I asked him to come here. But I'd say it, That's it.
That's something, we all have that feeling sometimes like that. Oh, this person didn't get back to me, or this person's not paying attention to me. And then you have to, I ask myself, who are you not paying attention to? Who do you need to reach out to and just let them know that I don't do it often, but like I remember that, like, hey, you let your friends, let your close friends know you love them. Let your, I do that with my family all the time. That's easy. My brother and I are like that. We do that. That's easy. We do that almost every time we talk. But what about what about other people that you're close to? Let them know that I
love you. I'm proud of what you're doing.
Let them know you're proud of them. Let them know that.
Yeah. Yes, this is what I'm talking about, Al. It's been a pleasure having you here.
It's been a pleasure being here.
Have we missed it? Yeah, we have missed something here. So there's like a social media world. Do you get involved with this?
Not too heavily. It's for my business. So, Al Ghanekar, Facebook.com, Al Ghanekar.
You want to spell that
out? My very complicated last name is Al is easy. Last name is Ghanekar.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right.
Ghanekar.
Definitely get hip with Al Ghanekar. You've seen him here.
Yeah, and if you Google me, I put up a lot of these one joke clips, so that way people, nobody wants to sit there and listen to 5 minutes of an unknown comedian talk. So one joke, if you want to click on another joke, click that one too. So I put up a lot of these clips. So if you Google my name, you'll find me.
Yeah.
Yeah, easily.
That's what I did.
That's what. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
That's how it worked for me.
Yeah. You gotta have an online presence, yeah.
I love you, man. Thanks for coming here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me,
It's been a pleasure hanging
Michael.
out with you.
Yeah.
This is Offering Something. What a beautiful day it is. People out there, remember, like I always say this, you are the most beautiful you can ever be when you are being yourself. It's you we want. It's you. It's you being you. That's what's appealing. A lot of love to our sponsors at Enjoy Your Life brand, at the Organic Natural Shop, and Riverwalk Brewing Company. And most importantly, to you sweeties. I love you for watching. Al, this is great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, this has been awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, Michael.
Yeah, of course. My pleasure. That is it, my friends. We love you. Yeah.